If you want to live longer and protect your heart and brain, you should never consume these vegetables after the age of 60. Did you realize that certain vegetables that you believe to be healthful could actually be causing your body harm after the age of 60? It may come as a surprise, but it is accurate. In the course of our lives, our digestive systems undergo transformations. Our capacity to absorb nutrients decreases, and our susceptibility to natural poisons grows. Some of the foods that we used to eat without questioning their safety have turned out to be silent dangers, particularly when they are consumed in an improper manner on a regular basis or when we are unaware of the dangers that they conceal. Within the context of today's film, we will be revealing 6 common veggies that older individuals ought to give some serious consideration to. These are not very rare or unusual goods to come upon. You can find them right in your kitchen, or perhaps they are even on your plate right now. On the other hand, once you have a better understanding of how they interact with aging bodies, particularly in areas such as blood pressure, thyroid health, and kidney function, you will understand why so many experts are now advising caution. Fear is not the subject of this video. It is about gaining information and regaining control, which is something that frequently disappears without a trace as one gets older. Therefore, if you are in your 60s, 70s, or even older, you should accompany me, since the vegetables that we are going to discuss might very well be ones that you have relied on for many years. In addition, the information that you will get today may assist you in avoiding long-term damage that you were not informed of. To begin, a vegetable that is high in oxalates and increases the risk of kidney damage. Let's start with spinach, which is a very popular food among those who are concerned about their health. Over the course of your whole life, you have probably been informed that it is a superfood due to the fact that it is loaded with iron, magnesium, and vitamin K. This is the portion that the vast majority of people never hear. Spinach also contains a very high concentration of oxalates. Oxalates are naturally occurring substances that, when they clump together with calcium in your body, result in the formation of crystals that are more pointed. Crystals like these have the potential to become lodged in the kidneys and become kidney stones, which may be quite painful. This is especially true for elderly people whose filtering systems have begun to slow down. A person who is over the age of 70 has kidneys that are not as effective as they were decades ago. And when you combine foods that are rich in oxalate with a filtering system that is already getting older, you are setting yourself up for disaster. Now, you could be thinking, but I've eaten spinach without any problems throughout my entire life. And you wouldn't be alone in that thought, but the bodies of older people are different. This risk is not the same as it was when you were 40 or even 60 years old. As you get older, your body will experience changes in your hydration level, calcium balance, and the bacteria that live in your stomach. This means that your body will no longer be able to handle these substances as smoothly that it once did. In the course of my conversation with Henry, a 75-year-old man, I learned that he had never experienced kidney problems before he began consuming green smoothies made with raw spinach every morning. In a matter of months, he was admitted to the emergency room with his very first kidney stone. His kidneys were completely overwhelmed by his healthy habit, according to the experts who examined him. In addition to that, there is a subtle thing going on here, and that is the illusion of control. There is a significant difference between raw spinach and spinach that has been mildly cooked. When we are doing something that we believe to be beneficial, such as eating greens, we do not scrutinize the specifics. Oxalate levels can be reduced by as much as 80% with steaming. However, raw spinach maintains all of its oxalate content. This is the reason why some dietitians now advise older persons to limit their use of raw spinach or to replace it with greens that contain less oxalate, such as romaine or arugula. What is the lesson to be learned? Spinach is not a horrible food, but it is not the innocuous health hero that we had imagined it to be, particularly for kidneys that are getting older. If you are still consuming raw spinach on a daily basis, you might want to consider looking into other options. Later on, Your body will be grateful to you. Secondly, a vegetable that upsets the equilibrium of the thyroid function. Next up is a class of vegetables known as cruciferous vegetables, which are frequently included on lists of foods that are good for the heart. Particularly raw kale. It is true that kale is the epitome of a healthy diet model. Nevertheless, here is something that a lot of people aren't aware of. Kale, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, and broccoli all contain substances that are known as goitrogens. There is a possibility that these will hinder the ability of your thyroid to utilize iodine, which is necessary for the production of thyroid hormones. When the function of your thyroid decreases, it has an effect not just on your energy levels but also on practically every other aspect of your body, including your metabolism, your mood, your weight, and even the rhythm of your heart muscle. It is at this point that it becomes particularly significant after the age of 70. Your metabolism will naturally slow down as you become older. On top of that, if you start interfering with your thyroid without realizing it, you are putting yourself in a position to experience exhaustion, brain fog, and unexpected weight gain that appears to come out of nowhere. My conversation with Judith, who was 74 years old, revealed that she was including raw kale into her smoothies on a daily basis. Additionally, she didn't know why she was always feeling cold and exhausted, even after she had gone to sleep. Not until her physician performed a thyroid panel did they discover that her hormone levels were falling to dangerously low levels. As soon as she stopped consuming raw kale on a daily basis and began preparing her greens, she experienced a significant improvement in her symptoms. Moreover, the manner in which you consume them is of utmost importance. Cruciferous vegetables, when cooked, help break down the majority of goitrogens, which makes them significantly less likely to cause disruptions. However, the raw, juiced, or powdered forms of the substance are absorbed directly into your system, retaining their full efficacy. This is the reason why the thread is frequently unnoticed. You believe that you are doing something beneficial for your heart, but in the meantime, your thyroid is quietly suffering the consequences of your actions. If you are over the age of 70 and have been consuming a lot of raw kale, Brussels sprouts, or cabbage, particularly in the form of juices or smoothies, you might want to rethink your consumption of these vegetables. This is not about fully removing them from the equation. The key is to recognize the ever-evolving requirements of your body and to adapt the way you nourish it accordingly. I would appreciate it if you could use the second comment section below to let me know that you are continuing viewing this video and that you are finding these insights to be helpful. I strongly suggest that you subscribe to the channel and activate the bell if you have not already done so. This will ensure that you do not miss any videos. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. Let's proceed with our plans now. In third place, a vegetable that causes an increase in blood pressure due to the presence of dormant sodium. Pickled veggies, particularly pickled cucumbers, radishes, or even pickled beets, are the next item on our list. This is something that the majority of people would not even think to be concerned about until today. Now, these might have a flavor that is invigorating, even nostalgic. It's possible that they bring back memories of your grandmother's kitchen or of past cookouts with pals. But what they actually contain is a much more contemporary and significantly more hazardous kind of sodium that is disguised. The majority of the time, when people think about sodium, they think about salty chips or processed meats. However, pickled veggies can be deceptively high in salt because of the brine that they are steeped in. It is possible for a single tiny portion to contain more sodium than what should be consumed in an entire meal. This is a significant cause for concern for people of advanced age. In the years following the age of 70, your kidneys will naturally become less effective in filtering excess sodium from the blood. It is because of this that salt begins to collect, which results in an increase in blood pressure, the retention of water, and additional stress on the heart. Once upon a time, I came upon a man named Robert. Following the death of his wife, he was 76 years old and living on his own. As a result of his limited cooking skills, He relied on jars of pickled veggies for both flavor and convenience. However, his physician began to observe spikes in his blood pressure, despite the fact that he had not added any table salt to any of the foods he consumed. According to the findings, the pickled side dishes that he consumed each and every night were quietly loaded his body with sodium. Within a few of weeks, his numbers began to decrease after he made the transition to fresh veggies that were steamed and reduced the amount of pickles he consumed. It is not about removing every single pickle from your plate, rather, it is about being conscious of the amount of pickles you consume and how frequently you consume them. There are currently brands that produce low-sodium versions, which may be a better option. Nonetheless, it is even better to regard pickled veggies as a condiment rather than a daily side dish. It is one thing to have a small taste every once in a while. Being able to make it a habit is a whole different issue. The blood vessels in our bodies lose part of their suppleness as we get older, which means that the heart needs to work more to keep things going properly. The addition of excessive sodium, particularly from sources that we do not anticipate, is analogous to applying pressure to a system that is already in the process of aging. Look into your refrigerator, if you will. It is possible that your blood pressure is suffering as a result of the fact that those jars of pickled veggies are disappearing faster than anything else. Regardless of whether or not you are aware of this fact, the fourth item on the list is a vegetable that discreetly raises your blood sugar levels. Corn. This one is one that frequently takes people by surprise. As well as corn-based treats, sweet corn, corn on the cob, and tinned corn are all available. Corn, in the minds of most people, is a vegetable, something that isn't harmful and even nutritious. It's bright and fun, it's delicious, and it's recognizable. Corn, on the other hand, is one of the vegetables that has the highest glycemic index, which is something that many people are unaware of. It is possible for it to cause a quick increase in your blood sugar levels, particularly if you consume it without consuming sufficient amounts of fiber or protein to slow down the process. On the other hand, if you have spent your entire childhood eating buttered corn at summer picnics, you might find this to be a frustrating revelation. However, here is the problem. Around the age of 70, your body's sensitivity to insulin gradually decreases. Your metabolism slows down, your capacity to regulate blood sugar shifts, and your risk of developing prediabetes or diabetes quietly increases. In this situation, foods such as corn become more of a nuisance than a source of pleasure. Starch makes up the majority of corn. There is more sugar in a half cup of sweet corn than you might expect, and it is converted into glucose in a short amount of time. This quick jump in blood sugar can lead to energy crashes, increased appetite shortly after meals and over time, and damage to blood vessels and nerves if blood sugar remains too high for an extended period of time more than what is considered normal. This is a potentially hazardous pattern for elderly people who are already on the verge of developing metabolic problems. I'll illustrate this with an example. A woman named Susan, who was 72 years old at the time, was a huge fan of canned corn. She would have it on toast, in soups, and even in rice. She would mix it in. Despite the fact that she was not consuming any sweets or cakes, she was unable to get a handle on why she was always feeling so exhausted. Her doctor eventually performed an A1C test on her, and the results showed that her levels were dangerously close to the diabetic range. After she switched from eating maize to eating leafy greens and beans that were high in fiber, she saw that her blood sugar began to regulate, and she also experienced a return of her energy. Corn is not intrinsically bad, but contrary to popular belief, it is not as neutral as one might think. In addition, when it is combined with other starchy meals such as potatoes, white bread, or rice, it causes the body to experience a state of sugar overload. This can cause your pancreas to work harder than it should, or even worse, it can wear it down over time. Especially in older folks, corn should be considered a once-in-a-while item rather than a staple food if you are someone who is trying to manage their blood sugar or simply avoid the roller coaster that is their blood sugar. There is no need for you to be afraid of food, nonetheless. You should be aware of it. There is still a place for corn, but it might be a little bit further away from the spotlight than it would otherwise be. I would appreciate it if you could use the fourth comment section below to let me know that you are continuing viewing this video and that you are finding these insights to be helpful. I strongly suggest that you subscribe to the channel and activate the bell if you have not already done so. This will ensure that you do not miss any videos. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. Let's proceed with our plans now. A vegetable that conceals the dangers of heavy metals comes up at number 5. It's spinach. Yes, I am aware of the fact that it is frequently lauded as a superfood. And in many respects, it is. There is a high concentration of antioxidants, calcium, magnesium, and iron in it. However, there is a facet of spinach that is less well known that becomes more significant as we get older, particularly for people who consume spinach on a regular basis. Because of this, spinach has a propensity to take in and hold onto large concentrations of oxalates and even heavy metals, like cadmium, that are present in the soil. Additionally, these substances have the potential to subtly deteriorate your health over time. Let's take a closer look at that. There are a number of vegetables that naturally contain oxalates, but spinach is one of the plants that contains the highest amount. A high consumption of oxalates can cause kidney stones to form in certain individuals, particularly those who already have renal problems, or it might exacerbate kidney disorders that are already present. It is possible for kidney function to spontaneously diminish with age, even in the absence of disease. This means that our bodies become less effective at processing and discarding these toxins as we get older. At the age of 75, something that was innocuous at the age of 40 may become a significant burden, yet the heavy metal perspective is something that many people never hear about. One of the harmful metals that has been linked to kidney damage, bone loss, and even some cancers is cadmium, which can accumulate in spinach that has been cultivated on soil that is contaminated. A further regrettable reality is that the presence of cadmium in agricultural soil is not nearly as uncommon as we would like it to be. In many cases, it is the consequence of phosphate fertilizers, industrial effluent, or even air pollutants working their way into the soil over the course of time. When it enters the plant, it immediately enters your body. Now, this does not mean that you should be afraid of spinach in general. The actual danger arises when you consume significant quantities of spinach on a regular basis, particularly if you choose to use spinach as a base for your salads, an ingredient in your smoothies, or a cooked side dish. Each dose is what creates the poison. Furthermore, it is dependent on the source. It is not possible to guarantee that organic spinach is free of heavy metals unless the soil itself has been tested and certified. And washing spinach does not remove any pollutants that are found inside the spinach itself. A man named Harold, who was 82 years old, was as sharp as a tack and proud of his green routine. I worked with him. His morning smoothie always included spinach, and he never missed a single day of doing so. His doctor noted that his kidney function markers had quietly moved after he had been doing this for 2 years. The shift was not significant enough to cause panic, but it was significant enough to raise an eyebrow. When Harold reduced the amount of lettuce he ate and introduced new varieties, such as romaine, kale, and arugula, those figures gradually improved. Spinach is not a bad food, but after the age of 70, we need to be more careful about the decisions we make. The more we get older, the less space there is in our bodies for the accumulation of hazardous substances. We experience a slowdown in detoxifying. Our organs become more susceptible to damage, and our resilience decreases. Therefore, if you enjoy spinach, you should continue to consume it, but you should rotate it. If you want to acquire all of your nutrients, you shouldn't rely on just one vegetable. You are protected by having a variety. Protection against something that the vast majority of people never see coming in this particular instance. A vegetable that can be used as a sugar trap is the sixth item on the list. Acorns. For many of us, it brings back memories of summer barbecues and buttery side dishes that we ate at family gatherings. It is sweet, it is nostalgic, and it brings back warm feelings. But hidden beneath the sweetness is a problem that the majority of people seldom discuss. Particularly those who are above the age of 70. The corn is more than simply a vegetable. In your body, it behaves more like sugar than the majority of people understand. And it is a carbohydrate bomb that is heavy in starch. Corn is swiftly converted into glucose by your body when you consume it. Regardless of whether you consume it on the cob, in kernel form, or crushed into polenta or grits, one thing is certain for elderly people, whose insulin sensitivity normally decreases with age. This means that their blood sugar levels will skyrocket. Having frequent spikes not only increases the likelihood of developing diabetes, but they also hasten the aging process on a cellular level. I do not agree with that. The science behind that is well documented. On the other hand, there is an additional layer that makes maize extremely deceptive. In the United States, corn is one of the crops that has been genetically modified the highest amount. The majority of maize that is cultivated for commercial purposes may be genetically modified to be resistant to pesticides or to create its own insecticide. Therefore, unless you purchase corn that is certified organic or non-GMO, you are most certainly consuming residues of chemicals such as glyphosate, which is a pesticide that has been linked to liver damage, disturbance of hormones, and even cancer in some studies, because of the fact that their detoxification systems aren't as strong as they once were. Senior citizens are particularly susceptible to the consequences that build up gradually. Also, let's discuss about oil made from corn. As a result of its high level of processing, lack of nutrients, and abundance of omega-6 fatty acids, it is a factory that produces inflammation. We are aware that chronic inflammation is a quiet mechanism that contributes to practically every age-related disease, ranging from Alzheimer's disease to arthritis, when consumed on a regular basis and without any form of balance. Corn products, whether they are in the form of oil, syrup, flakes, or tortillas, contribute to the inflammation that is present. One of the women I spoke with, Eleanor, who was 77 years old, had been consuming corn as a component of almost every dinner. A corn muffin in the morning, cornbread with her stew, and corn on the cob with her fish are all of her favorite foods. Her doctor suggested that she reduce her intake after she began to experience an increase in her blood pressure and a worsening of the stiffness in her joints. She modified her diet to include more fiber vegetables such as broccoli, bell peppers, and green zucchini. She was able to walk with greater ease within a period of 6 weeks. And her sugar levels returned to normal. The precise words that she used were, "I thought I was eating like I always had. But my body was changing. I didn't realize how much corn was dragging me down." The issue about corn is that it seems to be completely safe. It is cozy, it is a familiar experience, and it does not appear to be indulgent. After the age of 70, however, indulging is not a risk. Consistency is the key. The things that you perform on a daily basis without giving them any thought. Foods that appear to be harmless are frequently the ones that cause the least amount of harm over time. Be cautious of this. If you are a fan of maize, you should do so, but you shouldn't let it make its way into every aspect of your diet. I would appreciate it if you could use the 6th comment section below to let me know that you are continuing viewing this video and that you are finding these insights to be helpful. I strongly suggest that you subscribe to the channel and activate the bell if you have not already done so. This will ensure that you do not miss any videos. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. Let's proceed with our plans now. Lastly, some thoughts. When we get older, we begin to become aware of something significant. What we consume no longer only has an effect on our weight or our energy levels for the day. Our entire future is influenced by it. It is possible that the veggies that we formerly believed to be beneficial to our health are now working against us. gradually deteriorating our hearts, our minds, and even our bones. Fear is not the issue, rather, it is a matter of clarity. Instead of feeling like you are being deceived by your dietary choices, you should feel empowered by them. There is a connection between each veggie that we discussed today and the others. Either it conceals pollutants, causes an increase in blood sugar, contributes to inflammation, or it upsets the equilibrium that our bodies have been working so hard to keep after the age of 70. And the most perilous aspect of it all is that the majority of people are unaware of it. When people consume these meals, they are under the impression that they are acting morally. Moreover, their health deteriorates in a stealthy manner. However, that does not have to be the story you tell. This is the farthest you've come. In the course of your life, you have experienced decades of fads, trends, and conflicting health advice. Now is the moment to make things easier. Choose vegetables that are clean, fresh, and provide more than they take in the way of nutrients. When in doubt, select something that, after eating it, feels light, is easy to digest, and provides you with genuine energy. Your body possesses a great deal of knowledge. Believe in the way it reacts. However, while we are not suggesting that you should get rid of every item on this list for good, we are pointing out that awareness makes room for better choices. You might try substituting fresh mushrooms for canned ones. It is possible that you reduce the amount of maize you consume or that you give your digestive system a month's break from eggplants. Better sleep, increased vitality, and more clear thinking can all be achieved with only a single minor adjustment. We appreciate you being here with us today. It would be wonderful if you could get in touch with us. Please leave a comment below and tell us about one item you discovered today and how you intend to put it to use in your life right now. We place a high value on your opinions, so please do not be reluctant to share them with us. Our inspiration and encouragement are greatly increased as a result of reading your remarks. I would appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, and share this video if you found it to be informative and enjoyable. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. We appreciate you taking the time to watch, and we hope to see you in the future video.